In the previous video using Portfolio app, we discussed what is Portfolio and when you should be using it. Let us now discuss configuring our Portfolio plan. In this video, we are going to take a look at creating a plan. We will take a look at an overview of Portfolio plan, understanding the scope of your plan, and we will also learn how we can create our team. And finally, we'll take a look at managing your releases in Portfolio. So right now, when you are in your instance and when you install your Portfolio app, you will get this new menu item on top, which is called as Portfolio. If you click on this particular menu item on top, you will have the option to create a new plan. So there is one option here to click on the create, and you will be presented with two options: creating a plan and creating a program. Let us first discuss what is a plan. So when you select the plan option in this particular pop-up, click on the button create, and then you will be able to create a new plan. And the first thing that we need to do is give our plan a name. So let us say we are managing the two projects, which are, let us say, Android and iPhone development. So what we will do, we will use one plan where we will manage both the two projects in a single view. So you will first give your plan a name, let us say mobile development plan, and then you need to click on the next button. And then in the Portfolio app, you have the option to either include a board or a project, or it can be a filter. So let us select project and choose the project which we want to include in the Portfolio plan. So I first want to include my Android development project, and I also want to include my iPhone or iOS project in the same plan. So we will have two projects in one Portfolio plan. And finally, you need to also define the estimation of your Portfolio plan. So my estimation is based on story points, and then I'll click on the next button. And then you need to also define what all versions or milestones you want to include. So I'll probably click select all button so that all the versions in both the projects will be included. And then I click on the next button. And then you need to define the capacity or the availability of your team in terms of story points, which is right now 30, which is actually your velocity based on the board configuration. But we will not change it right now, but you have the option to also change it. And just to let you know, we can also manage the iteration. So instead of 2 weeks, if you want to have this iteration for 3 weeks or maybe 1 week, you can change it here. So let us click on the next button, and then Portfolio will give you the option to select which epic you want to include. So right now we can see that we have all the epics that we have in the two projects. We can see the epics, we can see the stories, and we can also see the subtasks. So right now I want to include all the epics, and I also want to include some more issues which are not probably part of any epic. So it will basically include everything in the Portfolio plan. So click on the done button. So the moment you have your Portfolio plan, you will be able to first take a look at the scope of your plan. And in this scope option here, you have a visual indication of the milestones and when they will be released. So right now it says that your version 2 for Android will be released on 23rd of March, and for the same Android version 2, you also have the option to take a look at the cut. So you can actually take a look here that some of the versions here are mentioned in red color, and it means that probably you will not be able to release them on time. So this particular timeline will give you this indication in a red color if it is not achievable. So what Portfolio will do for you, it will actually take a look at all the stories and epics that you have in the current project, and it will do the calculation for you. So on top, if you want to change the scope from epic to story, you can simply select story here. And if you also want to filter down on a specific project, let us say you just want to view the issues of Android project, so you can actually use these filters on top. And at the same time, you can also work on one of the releases in your current Portfolio plan. And if you scroll down further, if you notice that under the scope table here, you have the listing of all the issues as per the particular plan. So in this particular scope table, you have the title of the issue, which is right now story. You can see the release version, and you can see the story points, and if that particular story is part of the epic, it will be also displayed here. And finally, you can also see the progress of the same story. So this particular table here will actually give you a very nice way to not only view what you have in the current scope, but you can also manage and track their progress. And if you have some epics in the current project as per the plan as well, those will be listed here. So if I switch back to my epic view, you can see here that in my scope table below, you can see all the epics, and then you can further go inside that epic and it will display all these stories under a particular epic that you have in the project. And one more thing that I would like to mention here is that if you want to also add new items in the same project, you can simply click on the button here that says create story, and it will allow you to add a new item very quickly in the same scope. The second tab that we have here is the team tab here on top, and in the team view you have the option to configure and create your own team. So right now, based on the two projects, based on the input that we defined earlier while creating a plan, we have these two teams defined, and right now we don't have any person under that particular team. So all you need to do, you need to click on the add person option here to include more users in the particular team that you have. So let us say if my team for Android has 2 developers, so I can add probably the developers from this particular option here, and I can also manage their individual weekly working hours. So let us say if one of my developer Alana is working for, let us say 30 hours or maybe 20 hours, so I can simply change it here. And I also have the option to also change and define the holidays of a particular user. For example, if that particular developer is currently absent on a particular date and maybe they are only available for a duration of a specific duration, so you can also define that in your team management, which is really amazing feature to have, because based on this information your portfolio plan will perform the calculation, and if they are not working on a particular date, they will be not included in the planning. So let me also add a couple of people in my iOS board. So I'll add maybe myself. And then if I go back to my previous scope view, I have also the option to include and take a look at the team and the individual members that I have. So if I click on this particular team option here, I will be also able to take a look at the teams that are currently assigned to each and every individual stories and epics. The third tab here on top is called the release tab. If I click on this particular release tab very quickly, and if I show you what we have here, we basically have the list of all the milestones or versions from the two projects that we have in the current portfolio plan. And right now, if I click on one of the release here, let us say iOS version 2, if I click on this particular option here and go to the edit, I will be able to take a look at the current status of this particular version. So right now it says overbooked, because based on the current information that we have in the portfolio plan, we are probably trying to release this particular version quite early. So what I can do as a project manager, I can actually ask portfolio a question. For example, if I want portfolio to decide whether I want to release it on a particular date or if I want to just keep it dynamic. So if I change my release date to dynamic, and if I simply go back to my scope view on top, there is a button here that says calculate, and if I click on this calculate button, portfolio will perform the calculation based on the number of stories, based on their individual estimate, and based on the availability of the resources. So if you notice here right now, we can see here that based on the current information, portfolio is helping us with the plan. So it has already assigned the stories to individual members, and it has also taken a look at their individual capacity. So it is really amazing way where you can actually ask portfolio a question and portfolio will actually assist you in the planning. There's one more thing which I want to quickly show you, is that we can also create a cross project release. For example, if you're working on a release which is relevant for both the projects, let us say Android and iOS, so you can actually create one cross-project release that will be applicable in both the projects. Let us say I want to name this particular release as API version 1, and I can also include the projects where it will be applicable. So I can include my iOS and I can also include my Android development project. So I can actually change the date myself if I want to a fixed date, or I can just leave it as blank, and Portfolio will actually help me with the planning. So if I click on the create release button here, this particular release will be added in both the projects, and Portfolio will define the dates for us, which is really amazing. So right now I can see here that we still have some red indication on the timeline. If I probably very quickly go to the Android version 2, and I will let my Portfolio change and manage the date for me. So I'll change it to dynamic release. And now if I click on the calculate button on top, Portfolio will perform the calculation, and based on the current scope of the work that we have, Portfolio is now suggesting that the Android version 2 can be released on 31st of March, Android version 3.0 can be released on 14th of April. So we are actually able to plan our work very quickly without worrying about whether we'll be able to release it on time or not. And finally, when you're satisfied with this particular plan of yours, what you can do, you can simply click on the button on top that says uncommitted changes. If I click on it, I will be able to now commit these changes in the project. So which is one of the most amazing feature that you have in Portfolio. Portfolio will let you work on the plan, but the plan is only there for you, and it will actually give you the suggestions, but it won't apply those changes on the project until you click on the commit selected changes button. So if I want to click on this particular button, it will then apply the changes on the project. So right now, if you go back to your Agile board, you will be able to see those changes. And if you do any changes in your assignment, if you update any story points, or if you make any changes in the date, people will probably get notified. In the next video, we will take a look at creating what if scenarios.